Oh, YouTube, what's good, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. How y'all doing, man? And before I get into the video, I just want to say thanks to all the new subscribers and just everybody that's subscribed and been watching the videos the last 4 to 5 weeks. It's really remarkable that we've gained, I believe, around 80 subscribers, and this channel was like completely dead. I haven't posted on this channel in a long time. So shout out to everybody that's been supporting, and yeah, thanks for being here. So let's just get right into the video, and today we're going to be talking about all the gear that I use to record lacrosse. So yeah, lacrosse is probably the main sport that I've covered in these last 6 months, and really in this last year. I do cover a lot of other sports, but lacrosse is probably the #1 sport that I do record. And I get questions on what gear that I use, whether it's one piece of gear or my entire setup, so I figure why not make a video about it. So let's just get right into it. All right, so I guess we'll start off with the fun equipment, and that is the camera body that I use. So my main go-to camera body that I use is my Sony FX3, by far my favorite camera of all time. Honestly, if I had to choose one camera to use, this would probably be the one and only camera that I use. Of course, you get all the formats, so you get the 4K 24 frames per second, 30 frames per second, 60 and 120. I personally shoot a lot of my stuff in 120 just because lacrosse is such a fast-paced sport. The ball movement is very quick, the shots happen so quick, the big hits happen unexpectedly, and goalies just make a lot of great saves. So just to be able to slow all that down to either 25% or 20%, it's kind of, I don't want to say a must, but it's definitely needed for sure. So yeah, I shoot a lot of my stuff in 4K 120. Sometimes I'll shoot in 4K 60, just depends on if I'm low on storage or if I just don't want to have big file sizes for a weekend tournament. I would shoot in 4K 60. So yeah, that's the main body camera that I do use. The second camera body that I use is the one I'm recording on now, and that is the Sony a7 IV. I have used the Sony a7 IV a handful of times this lacrosse season just because I've been asked to do photos and video at the same time, or just for the same game. So it's just great to have a hybrid camera, and honestly that camera does well. It really packs a punch, and it's kind of comparable to my FX3. Obviously my Sony a7 IV does photo much better than the FX3, but again, that is a great camera to honestly start off with. And if you want a second camera, I believe the Sony a7 IV is a great bang for your buck and is a great B cam to have just in case something happens to your main camera. All right, so that was a quick rundown on the camera bodies that I do use. The lenses that I pair with these cameras. The first one I'm going to talk about is the one that I'm actually recording on now. So the one that you're seeing me through is the Sony 16-35. And honestly, when I first got this lens, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, it was my favorite lens. So I use this lens a lot for pre-game shots. I recently just swapped it out and went back to my other lens, but again, the 16-35 is an amazing lens. It's a great lens for establishing shots. It's a great lens just to get very wide angles, and you still get that 35 to where you can zoom in and punch in just a little bit on the subject. So I think it's a great versatile lens, primarily for establishing locations or just use it for pre-game. I wouldn't use this lens to record the actual game itself. So yeah, definitely take that into consideration. This lens is not a must if you're shooting lacrosse, but it's just one of the lenses that I use for pre-game, so just wanted to throw that in there. The second lens that I use, and it's probably paired with my third lens, but this lens right here is the Sony 24-70. This is the Mark II version of it, so it's the second version of this lens, so it's much more lighter. The autofocus is much better to the previous version. But again, this one is your best bang for your buck if you want to really have a sort of all-around lens. You get the 24, which is pretty wide. You can get the establishing shots, you can get the wide angles. And then you punch all the way into 70. And of course, having 24-70 is just such a great focal range. You're covering a lot of that short to medium range shots. And again, for this lens, it's definitely gonna be more of a pre-game lens that you wanna use. And lastly, we have the Sony 70-200. This is by far the best lens to use for sports in general. Again, it's probably your standard range for focal length. You have the 70-200. And this is probably just the best lens to get. If you had to really choose one lens to get to do everything, I would definitely choose the 70-200. You know for sure you're gonna be covered for game footage just because the action is so far away. Just zooming all the way into that 200, you can really cover one end of the field. You can sit on one end of the field and cover the opposite end, which is what I've done quite a bit this lacrosse season when I'm filming both offense and defense. So this is definitely going to be the best lens. The focal range is perfect. The autofocus is amazing. It's almost too good. Sometimes it pulls focus on things that I don't want to. But again, pros and cons. Obviously, this is probably my favorite lens of all time. I have to choose one. And yeah, those are the lenses that I am rocking. So we got the 16-35, we got the 24-70, and we have the 70-200, all Sony G Master lenses. Next, I want to talk about filters or ND filters that I use for these lenses. So really my primary lens filter is the Peter McKinnon Mist Edition 2. And with this version, it is an ND filter, but it also has a mist filter built in as well. So sometimes people ask me, how do I get that bloom or like that glow look in the highlights? It's just this filter. I'm not doing anything special in post-production. So yeah, that's the filter that I do use. It cuts down the light. It helps me set my exposure properly. So the next accessory that we'll talk about is the monitor that I use, and it is the FieldWorld F6 Plus. And honestly, this is the only monitor that I've used probably for the last 2 or 3 years. I had one prior to this, but I broke it, so I got another one, and it's just great. You can upload your LUTs on here if you want to. It already comes with conversion LUTs to Rec 709, so I shoot everything in S-Log3. And shooting everything in S-Log3 is hard to nail exposure just raw out the camera, so having a monitor definitely helps with that, where you can convert it to Rec 709 and see exactly what you would see if you were editing it. So yes, great monitor. And one thing I do want to highlight is that I do use a small rig cage. For one, it protects the camera, so if it drops, it's going to hit this metal part of the cage first instead of the camera. And then for 2, you get more mounting points. Now with the Sony FX3, you already get a ton of mounting points. So additional mounting points isn't really necessary, especially if you're shooting sports. But it's just nice to have those options. Moving on to accessories, we have the traditional FX3 top handle. And honestly, this handle is great just because it comes with an audio solution as well. And you have your XLR ports here, and you also have a 3.5mm jack where you can plug in your audio here and just mount it here in the holster. And the audio that I use is the Video Micro. It's very cheap. I got this for about $50. And all I do is attach it in the holster here, and it's a 3.5mm jack, so on the side here, I'll plug it in there. Oh, also want to highlight, if you are using the top handle, you will need one of these rubber grips to go onto your microphone, just because for some reason, the size of the microphones don't align with the holder itself. And this is kind of how I run my audio setup. So moving on to another important accessory is the small rig V-mount battery and the V-mount battery plate as well. So this works as twofold. So I have the V-mount battery, and basically it powers up my camera throughout the day. I have the V-mount battery 50 version, which honestly, if you're going to get one of these, don't get the 50 just because it won't last you all day. I would recommend the V-mount 99 version. I heard great things about it. A lot of my friends have it, and they are able to record all day nonstop. Now, because this is a small rig V-mount battery plate and I have a small rig cage, these pair up very well. And if I have the camera attached to the cage, I can easily slide the camera and the cage on the plate just like so, and then lock it up, and now I have my cage and my V-mount battery all set to go. And lastly, probably the biggest question I get is the tripod and the fluid head setup that I use for my camera. And if you haven't seen it already, I actually dropped a video on my Instagram talking about the setup that I use for my tripod and my fluid head, but again, I'll talk about it right now. So for the tripod itself, we have the open tripod, and I'll link this down in the description just because there's a certain model that you need to get. But this is the open tripod that I use, and for the flat head or the fluid head, it is a Manfrotto fluid head, and again, I'll leave the model in the description. So yeah, if I unlock one of these clamps, it just becomes very smooth. You can just keep spinning and spinning, so you can really track the ball as it goes along the field or into a shot. So yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. I didn't want to make it too long and go in depth about every piece of equipment, but hopefully you all got the overview of what I do use. And if you have any questions about the gear, definitely send me a message or just drop a comment down below. So again, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. If you do like this content, definitely hit that like button, subscribe button. More vlogs, more BTS, more everything about my life and being a videographer will be coming soon to this channel. So definitely hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I am out. Peace.